Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is Kodeations coming at you today with another video on Genshin Impact. That is right, I'm going to be giving you guys my top 5 tips and tricks when it comes to Genshin Impact that you probably do not know, and if you already know some of them, then you might not be taking advantage of them, and these are the reasons why I think it's very imperative that you do take advantage of these top 5 tips and tricks and why they made my top 5 list. But as always, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to hit that red subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you get a notification every time we drop a video. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into it. Diving right in, the first thing we want to take a look at is going to be scavenging, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot stress it enough. In this game, you are going to come across loads and loads of free resources. I mean, the vast world is just littered with free stuff to take advantage of, to collect, to fill up your inventories, even though there is no inventory cap, or if there is, it's gotta be massive, because I haven't seen a single streamer or a single content creator out there hit that, even people who have been playing in the beta. And not only that, they give you a vast amount of free stuff. So again, you need to get out there and make sure that you are scavenging and taking advantage of all of those free resources. I mean, resources like apples, fruits on trees, steaks from killing animals, flowers, mushrooms, berries, pine cones, anything and everything in the game that you can collect will be utilized at some point for something. Not only for recipes, not only for cooking, not only for, crafting armor and gear, but anything and everything that you can find in the game is utilized for something. There is no waste. And with that being the case, that's why you need to take advantage of all the free resources. And now, how do you get some of those free resources besides just stumbling across them? Some of those items are going to be like destroying barrels, destroying crates, destroying anything and everything that you feel that you can destroy, because some of those items will harness some of the free resources. So like cabbage and mushrooms and radishes, anything and everything that you can get, you can potentially gain and contain those items inside of barrels and crates, and anything that you can actually destroy. So again, get out there and utilize all of your scavenging skills. This is a action RPG, and so again, you want to make sure that you are exploring every nook and cranny of the world, because you might find resources that are dedicated to a specific area. You might find additional chests. You might find anything and everything that will benefit you in the long run. Also, you will not be disappointed by venturing to that area, because like I said, this game is meant and built around it. Now, that's going to lead me to my next tip on the screen, is going to be cooking. Now, cooking is something that I think a lot of players, definitely new players to a action open world RPG game, sleep on. Cooking is built around healing, right? That is the principle behind cooking. But early game, it is easy to sleep on, because loads of players are just thinking, these enemies are super easy. I can just spam my attacks. I can spam my abilities. I'm going to kill these enemies. I can do a few quests. I can just beeline through the story as fast as possible. While that is okay, and you can definitely play the game that way early game, the game does scale with your level. So as you continue to level up, the world is going to level up, and those enemies are going to get harder. I can promise you that, especially mid-game and especially in-game when you get to the abyss. So again, 100% you're going to need to focus on your cooking. Now, what are some really good tips when it comes to cooking? We're going to dive into a little bit of those things, but right off the bat is killing animals. You can kill any and every animal in the game. Now, whether that means that they are too fast for you to get up close to smack them with a sword, or you need to pull out a ranged bow in order to shoot them, anything and everything from birds, from squirrels, from, lizards, from boars, fish, anything in the game, you can actually kill that and collect the resources from them and utilize those inside recipes to give you a vast majority of buffs, a vast majority of debuffs, heals, passive heals, overtime heals, anything and everything makes a massive difference when it comes to killing animals, and that's how you can gather a lot of resources in the game. Not only that, to go to the first point, every time that you scavenge stuff, a lot of those items are going to be used for specific recipes, and again, do not sleep on picking up those free resources. The next thing I wanted to mention when it comes to cooking is going to be, there are different tiers as far as with recipes. You have 1-star recipes that you start off with by default in the game, all the way up to 5-star recipes that can even be locked behind talking to specific NPCs that are what they call chefs in the game, and or different NPCs in cities. that will basically give you or reward you different recipes. And so with that being the case, that's going to lead me into my next side point when it comes to cooking, and that is going to be talk to every single chef in the game. Now, you 100% should already be talking to almost every NPC in a game like this, because you never know what they have locked behind their conversation. But not only that, every single chef in the game, whether it's in a city, whether you stumble across a chef in the wild, whether you're at an enemy camp and you see something that you can talk to or interact with, you want to make sure that you do, because a lot of those things, those items or those chefs can give you free resources, some really good high-end resources when it comes to crafting with recipes. And not only that, they can also even unlock specific recipes for you that you can craft at any cooking pot. That leads me into the last but not least point when it comes to cooking, because we will have a cooking guide coming out in the future all around cooking, because it's so in depth. But that leads me into the next thing, is going to be make sure that you are taking advantage of those cooking recipes. Each cooking recipe can have anything from passive healing all the way up to buffs and debuffs, and that's going to be very crucial when it comes to taking advantage of that specific food or that specific plate style, and basically utilizing it on whichever character for a specific situation. It's going to be very critical. Now, the next point that I wanted to dive into is going to be fall damage in the game. Now, yes, if you have watched other tips and tricks video on Genshin Impact, because if you are here, I'm assuming that you have already been looking it up or basically YouTubing all tips and tricks with Genshin Impact. And now there is other content creators out there that are blowing up about fall damage. And yes, 100%, it has to be mentioned in a tips and tricks guide. I think it should be mentioned in every tips and tricks guide, especially for Genshin Impact, because fall damage is massive if you end up falling off a cliff, if you don't pop out your glider in time. Basically, if you get hit off of a cliff, anything and everything when it comes to that fall damage in general is going to be very crucial. Not only that, the game does have a stamina built system, and as you use attacks, as you climb walls, as you do anything and everything, you will utilize that stamina, and there's going to be loads of stuff, if you don't already know, in Genshin Impact that is hidden behind or hitting, up on top of a cliff, hitting on top of a building, anything and everything, is going to utilize, the higher ground. In order to get that higher ground, sometimes you have to do the inevitable, which is going to be climb, and you're going to inevitably run out of stamina sometimes. And with that being the case, if you fall running out of stamina, you're going to take massive damage and sometimes even fatal damage and die. So with that being the case, definitely utilize this skill of basically dive attack. So if you on the side of a cliff, you go to jump off the side of a cliff, you're going to do a dive attack, and you will basically avoid any fall damage that you are taking. And you also could get lucky, and if there are enemies below that dive attack, they also take damage as well. So you're actually avoiding damage, and you're actually causing damage, like an AoE effect around you. But not only that, if you are climbing up a hill or a mountain or anything like that, and you run out of stamina, or you're about to run out of stamina, plan it accordingly. Jump off of the cliffside, do the dive attack straight down, and then therefore you will avoid that damage. However, you do not achieve your climb, but nevertheless, you do not take fatal damage, and you don't have to waste your consumables or your food or anything like that in order to regenerate or heal yourself. Now, the next tip that I have for you guys coming in at number 4 is going to be different characters excel at different tasks in the game. And so what I mean by that is using a ranged class sometimes is very beneficial. One of those things are going to be hunting and killing animals, for instance. When you are trying to run up to a boar, for instance, that is full-fledged running away from you, or a deer that is full-fledged running away from you, sometimes it is very challenging to attack that with a sword. So therefore, somebody like Amber, or somebody that's an archer in general like Fish, can pull out a bow, snipe that animal, kill that animal. You can go and then collect your steaks, collect your resources that you need in order to craft your recipe or whatever you're doing, whether it's for a specific quest or actually a recipe. Nevertheless, utilizing a character like that, for ranged class has its, advantages. The next thing up would be, or another example up would be like my Noelle, for instance. She excels exceptionally well at destroying ores in the game. So you walk up to a set of ores, you can do one attack and it basically destroy that ore, collect that ore, when instead of using somebody like, your traveler or your main character who has a smaller sword, her abilities are, wind, whatever the case may be, she takes several hits to destroy one ore deposit. Therefore, it's making her not very effective when it comes to harvesting that specific ore. So that's going to be the reason why you will want to utilize your heroes to their advantages and what they absolutely have. Another really good example that I want to show you guys is going to be basically Amber with her fire abilities, right? So for instance, if you stumble across a cooking pot in a enemy camp that is not lit, you can actually, I don't know if a lot of people know this, you can actually take advantage of that fire camp by actually utilizing Amber's fire skills. You can shoot a fire arrow at that camp or that fire plate or fire pot. Basically, it will generate the fire below that. It will then unlock it for you to be able to craft or to cook at that fire camp at the enemy's base. So again, utilizing those heroes, make sure that you are basically constantly checking out. If you can't destroy something with one hero, swap to another hero and see if you can absolutely take advantage of their skill set and or their element. Now that leads me to my last but not least point for you guys, or last tip and trick for you guys, is going to be focus on one character. Now I know a lot of people have said this, and I know maybe you have played other gacha games and you know about this, and that is okay, but nevertheless, this game is not going to be one of those games you want to spread yourself thin mid to late game. And what I mean by that is basically swapping to your different heroes and utilizing your heroes is always great, right? Because you're getting that free experience, right? You're going to swap to that hero. As you utilize that hero, you will basically gain experience just naturally and organically over time as you use them, right? But I highly recommend that you just pick one of your favorite heroes. At the beginning, you're going to test them all out. You're going to try them out as you get free heroes, as you get the 4 that you have stacked, as you swap them out. Yes, I definitely highly recommend trying some of those out and finding one that you like. But once you find the one that you like, I definitely think it's 100% worth utilizing that one hero and playing that one hero as much as possible. Not only that, utilizing what they call these XP scrolls or these XP papers, whatever you want to call them, and they are at different tiers as well, as 1 stars all the way up to 5 stars that give you a instant amount of experience. I highly recommend utilizing those only on one specific hero, and then that way you can take advantage of basically having one super powerful hero and utilize the other 3 heroes in your party for buffs or debuffs or supports, anything like that. Again, focus on one hero, because if you spread yourself too thin, you will not be able to do enough damage mid to late game, which then will require you to constantly farm and farm and farm for more experience in order to progress that one hero that you do decide to pick later on. So don't make those mistakes early game. Start off strong by focusing on one hero, and especially for those people that are going free to play that are only utilizing the 4 heroes that the game gives you, or the 5 or 6 heroes that the game gives you later on. You're going to want to 100% focus on those heroes, and again, utilizing those elements are going to be very beneficial for you in the long run. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for me. Please let me know down below in the comments what you think about these tips and tricks. Did you know them? Would you like to see more tips and tricks? Because I could probably make several videos loaded around this. But without further ado, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you get a notification every time I drop a video. And I will see you guys on the next one.